going to be a fun one. I am back off of vacation. I don't feel like I'm back. I feel like I'm still trapped on the West Coast, but it was a good time. And now I get to have the best time, even though it's coming a little later. Monday strategy show presented by Super Draft. And I'm joined by Dave Loughran. Lofty, what's up? It's good to talk to you, man.
Oh, hey, this is a happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody. This is a insane slate. You get it every year. It's a lot more difficult given how each site breaks down. So just to fill everybody in on what's going on today, I tweeted out, and I know most of our contributors retweeted it, so you don't have to. You could pretty much go anywhere from an Awesemo handle and see our schedule for today. We're doing this show till 2:00, and then we're going to have the deeper dive with Adam and myself at 4 to 5, and then live before lock, you and Spags, right?
Correct. We'll be back 6:30.
Yeah, 6:30 to 7:30. The reason for that is FanDuel locks at 5. Super Draft running, I think, their biggest contest ever. They're the sponsor of the strategy show and the deeper dive today, or live before lock and the deeper dive. Yeah. They have a big contest going and a lot of reasons to play that. They lock at 5.
$20K guaranteed today.
I know, 4K to first. DraftKings is running 2 p.m. games through 5 p.m. games, and then a 7:30 lock time for Maine. They have a 5 p.m. slate, but it's their smallest slate on the slate, on the day. So you and I are going to break down the 2:00 through 5:00 games.
Yes.
Make sure we get everything to everyone for what they need by 2:00, and then we'll have everybody covered up throughout the rest of the day with 2 more shows.
Yeah, we're going to be all over the place in terms of slates today. There's no rhyme or reason to a lot of it, but we're going to hit on everything from the 2:00 games, 3:00 game, and the stack of 5:00 games. And you'll get a good breakdown of those 5:00 games again in a couple hours with you and Adam.
Yeah, man, we got a lot today.
We do have a lot.
More than enough.
But we do want to talk a little bit about Super Draft. And if you check out the YouTube chat right now, link it just got posted. Super Draft projections are free today. Can't beat that. This should help you out tremendously. I've got some Super Draft crunches on the screen. We're going to look at those a little bit later.
Quick here.
Hit me.
Chandler Parsons suffers, are you ready for this? Traumatic brain injury, disc herniation, and torn labrum.
Car accident, right?
Wow. God. This guy can't even stay healthy off the court.
Yeah. I'm like 99% sure I heard on a podcast yesterday that it was a car accident.
Is it? That's terrible, man.
I could have just been asleep, or I did spend a lot of time in California, so I could all just be made up too.
Dear God, that's brutal. I mean, He hasn't played in like 6 years, but still.
Yeah. The man is perpetually injured.
Wow. Sorry, go ahead, Super Draft.
And if you would roster Chandler Parsons, he would probably have an incredibly high multiplier at Super Draft. And you're probably thinking, what is a multiplier? But that is the key tenet to Super Draft. Say goodbye to salaries, say hello to the multiplier so that you can roster whoever you want at all times. I've got my top projected lineup on the screen right now. 403.91 fantasy points. That doesn't matter to anybody. But what matters is I have Harden, I have Westbrook, Lonzo Ball, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Brandon Ingram, Lauri Markkanen, Nikola Vucevic. That'd be like $140,000 in salary if you wanted to try to do that somewhere else. But you get guys like Harden and Giannis at a 1x multiplier. So whatever they get, that's what you get. But you could roster someone like Lauri Markkanen at 1.65x. So whatever he scores is getting multiplied, more than 50%. It's 65% higher than whatever he got. You can roster whoever you want. I think it's the future of DFS. And if you want to sign up, go to superdraft.io. Use the promo code AWESEMO. Get yourself a free $20 in super cash on your first $100 deposit or more. And they have an app, so you can go to whatever app store you use. Download the app. You can track your contests. Super Draft. No limits, more winning. And honestly, I'm liking this contest for today. $20K guaranteed, $12 entry fee, 4K to first. That's pretty nice for MLK Day.
I'm going to get in on it.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? It is interesting though, because like if you take, got a little congestion going on here. We'll work through it. If you got like 40 from Markkanen, that's 66 at his multiplier. Now, 40 for marketing is a little far fetched, but it's possible. It's really interesting just based on the way it's done. Like Harden, like you said, is ×1. Do you still think you'd get a ton of Harden regardless, just because there is no salary, even though he's 1x?
I didn't prompt you for this, but it just so happens that in the 300 lineups that I ran for Super Draft, I got 81% James Harden. He is my most exposed player.
It only seems to make sense.
It's interesting. So Fantasy Cruncher has the ability to run Super Draft crunches, and it shows you what you have them projected for, and then it shows you what they actually score because of the multiplier. And I think that's pretty interesting because it kind of just flattens everybody out. So the lowest projected guy after the multipliers is at 54. That ends up being Russ, I believe. Russ and Lauri Markkanen both at 54. And then Harden is at 66, but that's a pretty narrow band. It really does do a good job of equalizing everybody to the slate. So it gets a little tricky. You're probably looking for matchup a little bit more. You're looking for guys that maybe have an upside in minutes, that have a big multiplier that could see you go pick up a big score that you wouldn't necessarily normally get. Being able to get 1.65x on B Jelly is, that changes the game up a little bit.
It does. I don't think he's going to be getting any center minutes, but nevertheless, makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Now that Trevor Ariza went bye-bye. Two fire trades while I was out on vacation. I didn't know that they were going to be dropping bombs like Kent Bazemore for table scraps and Trevor Ariza for the other table scraps.
Jeff Teague too, man.
Yeah, Jeff Teague got shunned back to Atlanta. Maybe because Karl Anthony Towns said, get Jeff Teague out of here. Who knows?
Yeah, what is he, Jimmy Butler now?
Yeah, probably should be. Maybe he learned something.
It's possible.
Eye of the Tiger. Be better if he was a tiger than whatever sissy cat he's been so far.
He ain't no Timberwolf.
No, he is not. He's whatever the opposite of that is. But we've got 9 games to talk about. We're going to hit the 3 really early games, and then we're going to bang out the 5 p.m. stuff. Lavi, I'm ready to start if you are. You and I have not talked basketball.
Let's do it, man. Let's jump into it.
I guess a week, right?
What, the last time you and I did?
Yeah, last Monday?
Huh. Yeah, I think so. I don't know if I filled in for a show. I can't remember. I feel like I did.
I don't know. I feel like that was the week before. I don't know. Adam's always off going to Wizards games and, being awful.
We'll call it a week.
Speaking of the Wizards. Before we get into that, I'm going to get to it in 3 games, but my Philadelphia 76ers picked up a road win while I was out.
They finally did, man. 1-3. 1-3 on the road since we made this bet. So
got one today too. It's coming.
We'll see how far it takes you. They're 1.5-point dogs today on the road, and at the Rogers Center in Brooklyn.
Might as well be a home game, baby. Woo!
Actually, it's not the Rogers Center. That's Toronto.
Yeah, it's the Barclays Center.
The Barclays Center. Yeah. Thank you. Rogers Center would be the Toronto Blue Jays.
I was close. I also wouldn't want Philly to be playing in Toronto. I'd greatly prefer Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's not even the Toronto Raptors stadium. I'm saying that is the Toronto. It's a baseball stadium.
You're 2 months early.
Yes, I am.
Coming up on the MLB Strategy Show, brought to you by whatever soon. So yes, I did want to gloat a little bit that I picked up a W. It was against somebody terrible, and they barely squeaked by and scored like 90 something points, if I remember correctly.
It took them it was like 197.
Was it the Hawks?
It took them. What?
Was it the Hawks?
No, it was the Knicks.
Okay, I knew it was somebody terrible.
Game-winning shot with 28 seconds left. No good, man. That cannot have you feeling great.
Hey, it counts as a full win.
It does. And I've got 3 full counted losses already.
Yeah, I'm good. Joel, please fix your finger. Anyway, Washington Wizards, Detroit Pistons. You messaged me earlier today. Do these teams only play each other?
It's felt like it the past month.
Yeah.
I think this is like their 4th matchup in the last month or something crazy.
1 point favorites here for the Wiz. I was really nervous when I sat down to do rotations and stuff. Pistons are generally pretty easy, but I clicked on Washington and I was like, this could be any combination of guys. They could have 4 new people since I've been here. Like, I have no idea what this is going to look like, but it was pretty easy. Everybody that has been playing is essentially playing. AP is questionable, shouldn't matter at all. Jordan McRae is the only one that would have mattered, but he's not on the injury report. So, as far as I'm concerned, I think we've got like a relatively normal Wizards rotation. Pretty much the same story for the Pistons. So let's start on the Washington side. Quite a bit of ownership coming into Bradley Beal and Davis Bertans on FanDuel. A little bit less so on the DK side. I've got DK ownership for their early slate loaded right now. Not too much coming in here from the Wiz, which surprised me a little bit given the totals, but everybody's kind of priced up from where they were before. What stands out to you from Washington today? I'm not seeing a ton.
Not a lot at all. And honestly, I think the rotation might be a little bit more difficult than you're letting on to, but I don't know how much it matters.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Thomas Bryant. Well, first of all, Pasechnik's, I don't know if he's going to play. You mentioned that he's questionable. If he doesn't play, is the result Thomas Bryant getting backup center minutes instead of playing only 16 minutes because Wagner's out, Rui's still out? That wouldn't leave them with a lot. Bradley Beal, I'm only giving him 31 minutes here.
I gave him less than that.
Did you?
Yeah. I gave him 28.
I just projected his first half minutes in last game before it got out of control. I just projected the first half minutes for the second half.
That's fair.
And got around 31. But it's tough to say. Yeah, he could very easily play less than that. What are you giving him, 29 or 30?
I just bumped him to 30. You talked me into it. He still grades out as, I don't know, marginal at best.
Yeah, it's tough. Jordan McRae's probable, but Gary Payton. Do you even have Gary Payton in the rotation?
I gave him 13 minutes because I didn't know what else to do with him, and I didn't want to start juicing more to Troy Brown, more to Jordan McRae, more to guys that could end up being in a lineup.
That's the thing. I didn't even give them that much, and I still didn't get any minutes for Payton because I ended up, I think, with like 26 for Brown. I think Bonga I gave like 18 or 22.
Okay.
Schofield, I didn't give any to. He hasn't been playing. Garrison Matthews is out. But then you have like Davis Bertans, Troy Brown, a few of these guys that it just seems like they have to get some minutes. So I don't really know. And then you have Ish Smith, Isaiah Thomas. I think 13 minutes is fine. It doesn't make a difference. The point I'm getting at, though, is this whole team right now, I know there's still a lot of injuries, but there are enough guys that have gotten healthy and Brad Beal not getting minutes to where you'd have to really, really force yourself into liking players from this game.
Yeah, and I just don't. Like Bertans, I mean, the FanDuel ownership for the early is a little different because it's just a 3-gamer. We're getting Bertans at 32%, Beal at 37%. But on DK, it's Isaiah Thomas at 10 and Bradley Beal at 13. Nobody else in double digits. No one stands out here. Like, I don't, especially on DraftKings, I have a hard time recommending anybody as anything other than just filler.
How many minutes are you giving Jan Mahinmi?
I gave him 18 as of right now. I got AP in for 14.
Wait, hold on a second. How is that happening?
Come again?
How did you drop him so far? Then that must mean you're giving Thomas Bryant considerable minutes.
I gave Thomas Bryant 16 minutes. What he played in the last game as well.
Right. So
it seems like these three idiots are splitting their center minutes.
Oh, you're giving them a split at center.
I mean, do you think they're going to... I mean, they did play alongside of each other.
They started.
Do you think that happens again here?
I don't see why it wouldn't.
I can't imagine that they're trying to run any combination of those three guys alongside each other permanently. They've done it, I mean, by a lot. I can't imagine that's a long-term decision.
It might not be, but didn't they start 2 consecutive games alongside each other?
They did.
So that's what I was getting at earlier. Like, if that's the case, and you have Brian and Mahinmi starting next to each other, okay. So, for example, last game, it got out of control. But basically, Pasechniks came in for Jan Mahinmi, or no, he did. Yes, he did. He came in for Mahinmi, and then Bryant came in, got some run at the 5, and then Mahinmi came back in, and then then Pasechniks played like 20 minutes to close out the game in a blowout. But that's kind of what I'm saying here. Jan Mahinmi didn't play at all, really. He played one rotation in the third quarter for 6 minutes, and the game was a complete blowout. They were down by like 25 points or something crazy. So I don't know.
They're going to really start one of these guys alongside Sekou Doumbouya at power forward. Like that just doesn't work to me. It's one thing if it was like, okay, Christian Wood is starting alongside Andre Drummond, but Sekou Doumbouya is a wing.
Yeah.
I have a hard time thinking like any of those guys are going to be chasing around a 4.
But like Cornette and Markkanen, that's not exactly a monster dominant front court, and they
I don't know. Look, I have no idea. I have a hard time projecting 3 centers to play a lot more than 48 minutes long term. They're 2 games into it, and they're certainly pretty invested into it. But I can't imagine that's something they're trying to do on purpose.
Yeah, I suppose it doesn't matter. I have Jan Mahinmi.
That also is true.
It probably doesn't, but I guess I still have Mahinmi at 26 minutes, though. That's where I was saying we differed a bit.
Okay. I'm going to take a couple more minutes off of Gary Payton. Give a little bit of bumpsy to Jan Mahinmi. Jan Mahinmi, by the way, at 0% ownership on DraftKings right now. So I can pretty much give him whatever I want, and it doesn't seem to matter.
Right. It shouldn't make a difference. I don't need to spend too much time on it, but that's where you're getting the Payton minutes and where I lost them pretty much.
Yeah, I just can't. I don't know. I could very easily be wrong. I can't imagine that running 2 legitimate centers is their goal for the long term.
No, I don't either, but they started him in 2 games, and that Chicago front court really isn't huge. So
true. I
don't know. I guess we'll find out.
All righty. On the Pistons.
Pasechniks is out. Okay. So that actually changed.
Okay.
We actually, and McRae will play. I actually want to spend a little time on this. I don't want to take too much time in this game, but that's pretty significant, taking another 20 to 22 minute guy out of the rotation at center.
100% changes everything now. Now,
Mahinmi might play
there's
30.
no way that there's no way that Mahinmi and Thomas Bryant are playing alongside each other now, I would say.
Because
they're going to have to make up 48 minutes of center time no matter what. I'd have a hard time seeing one of them also playing additional 4 minutes.
The only way that would happen is if Mahinmi probably plays 30 minutes today. Probably plays 30. If Bryant backs him up for 18, it's not crazy to think Bryant plays like 23, 24 total minutes.
I gave Bryant 22. I gave Mahinmi 26 right now, just to see how it looks.
Okay.
And I want to, that still leaves me, I can give Gary Payton 13, and I don't have to touch another thing right now.
Yeah.
I think that just solved their issue of having to play 2 big men alongside each other.
It probably did. Mahinmi played 31 and 30 in 2 straight games, 27 before that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Bryant hasn't played more than 16 since returning.
Yeah, I don't get the sense that he's going to get let loose. That was a lower body injury, right?
Yeah. It was the foot, right?
26-22 feels okay, which is going to get me a lot of Thomas Bryant at 22.
See, I'd rather get more Mahinmi, and that's why I'm at 30 instead, or even 29. Whatever.
Yeah, that makes me want to rotate to 27-21 or something.
Yeah, maybe get a bit more balance for myself too, because if I gave Mahinmi 30, I would imagine I would have some Mahinmi.
This obviously makes Jan Mahinmi look pretty solid, and in a way, I guess, Thomas Bryant has become mildly sneaky.
Yeah, especially, and I know we don't think they will, but if they did end up playing some minutes alongside each other, and Bryant ended up getting 24 total, that would make him a lot more appealing too.
Agreed. Wild. Well, hey, at least we got the news in the middle of it. That was fun.
Yeah, that's good. That's nice to know.
Let's talk Pistons then. Opposite side. Andre Drummond is 71% owned on the FanDuel early slate. Get him in your lineups now. 17% on DK. Derrick Rose at 16. Those are the only two guys getting any love. Sekou Doumbouya at 18% on FanDuel, but again, just the 3-gamer. So in the grand scheme, Drummond and Rose looking like the two plays that should be talked about. I'd rather ignore them. I would like to point out Andre Drummond is $44 on Yahoo, and I think that's the best price of anybody in this game.
Sure. Adam and I were actually talking about this this morning. It's really strange what's going on with Andre Drummond. We were breaking down like what his minutes looked like and what Dwayne Casey's been doing, and I had mentioned that even last game before the blowout, Andre Drummond's first half minutes were strange. He only played 4.5 minutes in the second quarter.
Yeah.
And then he comes in, he plays 5 minutes and 49 seconds and he's out. Now, I believe he had 4 fouls there. That was his 1 and 2. Yeah. But the first half was odd. So Adam had mentioned that Wood had a really good second quarter, and he was right. He had 7 and 7. But the funny thing is, a month ago, it wouldn't matter how Christian Wood was playing, backing up Drummond. He wouldn't get more minutes over Drummond just because he was playing well. Now it seems, and we've seen this on several occasions over the past couple of weeks, Casey has been less liberal with Drummond's minutes, and he's been a little bit more willing to kind of reel him in a bit. But then the game before that, he played 38. So Drummond still has that 38-minute upside for sure, but I'm not as comfortable locking him into those minutes as I was, even 3 weeks or 2 weeks ago.
No, same. I put the brakes on. I immediately typed 36 into Andre Drummond's cell because I don't normally think twice about it lately.
Yeah.
And then
I gave him 34.
I'm even more pessimistic than that. I actually gave him 32.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I don't think that they're going to grind him into the dirt until the trade deadline's over.
That's kind of how it feels right now. Yeah.
And at 32, at 10-2, I still think he looks pretty good on FanDuel, but at 9,600 on DraftKings, I think there's plenty out there. Like, I'd rather have Trey Young, depending on the Al Horford news, and maybe not even depending, but like Ben Simmons is right there. Brandon Ingram is right there. Plenty of different ways to spend the money than, having to hope that Andre Drummond gets big time here.
Yeah. And again, he could. Like, he very easily could. There's no question. It wasn't more than 2 weeks ago that he played 49 minutes out of 53 total available minutes in an overtime game. But at the same time, man, it's really difficult to say. So I put it this way. I'm not giving him 36, 37 anymore, which we were a few weeks back.
I'm on the same page. I am giving Derrick Rose 29, which makes him viable. I don't know.
Yeah, I got him at 30, but
we know what we're getting out of Derrick Rose at this point.
Yeah, in the starting lineup, pretty appealing.
Yeah.
It's a matter of what are you willing to pay for. Like against Washington, I don't have an issue with it. I wish he had upside for more minutes, which I guess you could argue maybe he gets to 32 or whatever, but not really comfortable projecting that. Do you like him at his price?
Not really. Less than the public does, apparently.
Yeah. I think he's okay.
I mean, I expected to like this game, and I don't.
I know.
Like, Bruce Brown's minutes are down, so bleh. I don't want to pay $5,500 for Svi. I don't want to play $5,300 for Sekou Doumbouya. It's a little bit more in play on FanDuel just because of the way that the salaries are working out, but I don't need to play Christian Wood or Markieff Morris on backup minutes.
No, I mean, that was precisely why I DM'd you the same thing earlier today, because you see it and you're like, oh, not bad. Then you get through the game, and like, I thought I was supposed to want players from this game, and in large part, you really don't.
No, not at all. I'm good to wrap this one up if you are.
Yeah, let's move on.
Atlanta Hawks, Toronto Raptors. Raptors 8-point favorites in Atlanta. For the Hawks, Alex Len is out. Obviously, Jeff Teague has been integrated to the team. 10-3 for Trey Young on FanDuel, $9,500 on DraftKings. I like him for $41 on Yahoo. Not picking up as much ownership as I would have expected, 15% on DK, but it's obviously a very difficult matchup. How do you feel about Trey Young for today?
Yeah, I'm not in love with him here. There's a lot of good options on this slate, but Trey Young's price point on DraftKings, they've clearly, you got that preemptive matchup pricing in here, which I'm not opposed to whatsoever.
Yeah.
Whenever you're getting him this cheap, it's pretty nice. I am curious, however, what we're going to see as far as him and Jeff Teague go, because Trey Young, before Teague came in, was playing an insane amount of minutes, just an absurd amount of minutes. Something I found very odd with the game not completely out of reach at all. They got blown out by the Pistons, but it was mostly the second half, right? You look at the first half, Jeff Teague, not Trey Young, played the final 4 minutes of the first half.
It's weird, right?
Right. Like, does it mean anything? Maybe not. Probably not. But it's still kind of strange that Trey Young was on the bench for the final 4 minutes of the half. I don't know. And the reason I say that, if it was like, let's say it was Brandon Goodwin that got those minutes, wouldn't care.
Right.
But Jeff Teague is actually a viable enough backup to where you say, all right, well, they'll play some minutes alongside each other. We expected that. I think they played 6 minutes alongside each other last game. Game got turned into a blowout. Trey Young ended up not playing the final 5 or 6 minutes. I think 6 minutes. Fine.
Viable backup. He might be the second best player on the Hawks.
I mean, Collins is a good player. I like some of the young guys they have. But look, that's a discussion for another time. I think the Jeff Teague's arrival could certainly make it to where, where you have Lloyd Pierce saying, all right, I don't need to give Trey Young 37 minutes today. I can give him 32 and I have a backup that I feel good about.
Wouldn't shock me. Like, I have them playing a couple minutes alongside each other. I gave Teague 22. There comes a point where I can only give him so many minutes. They obviously need him. They don't have a legitimate backup point guard on the roster. Sorry to Brandon Goodwin. I gave Trey Young 30. No, I don't have him in the rotation at all. No, I gave Trey Young 34 minutes, so down a little bit from what he had been doing.
Yeah, okay.
And he looks viable. I'd rather have him than Drummond if we're talking about DK.
So would I.
So, as far as I'm concerned, that direction, I like it there. Especially given, they're at similar ownership. I think Trey is, I would significantly prefer Trey. And then after that, I think Kevin Huerter looks pretty good at 5,200 on FanDuel. John Collins
coming off a great game.
John Collins at 42% ownership on FanDuel. This dude is permanently owned.
I know. It's strange. It's also strange that if you look at their rotation's different now. And one of I was like, okay, how are we getting all of these guys into the rotation and most of them are still getting significant run? Well, if you look at that last game, John Collins only played 27 minutes, right? Which is kind of strange. And then Damian sorry?
His minutes have been weird just in general.
They've been really weird. Absolutely. Bruno Fernando played 17 minutes and basically Damian Jones, I think, played 12. So is Collins only going to be getting minutes at the 5 going forward in order to make minutes for everyone else?
I have him split for today.
Okay. See, I gave him, I think 6 minutes at the 4 with the rest coming in at the 5.
I gave him 18 and 12, 18 at the 5.
Okay.
But maybe not fun. Either way, I'm not terribly interested in him, and I'm certainly not interested in him at 42% ownership. I would like to come in a little lower than that. And at 7,300 on DraftKings, I'm certainly good against Toronto. Not a great spot for him.
Do you think Cam Reddish is viable at 42 on FanDuel? He's been getting pretty significant minutes. Treveon Graham is not going to play more than 6 minutes.
Right.
So I wouldn't be worried about him stealing run from anybody. Cam Reddish over his last 2 games, he played 30 in that blowout. Terrible performance. But then 36 against San Antonio, 45, 25, 5 and 4 with that bunch of stocks. He's a very volatile player. There's no doubt about that. But it does seem like his minutes might be back on the upswing.
I think that I would rather have notoriously lethal defender from my Philadelphia 76ers, Matisse Thybulle.
Really?
Same price. Thybulle's minutes climbing big time. I think I would be more likely to go to Thybulle. Toronto's a terrible place for someone like Cam Reddish, who has very little offensive ability right now.
Yeah, Matisse Thybulle, a far more polished offensive player.
I'm more confident in Thybulle being able to get a steal or something.
Bro, this dude scored like more than 5 points in a game once.
That's okay. You get points from all sorts of stats.
Yeah. Hopefully you get 18 stocks from him. You'll feel great.
Give me
Reddish over.
When did you become such a Sixers hater? That's embarrassing, man.
I'm not. Look behind me.
I don't know. I can't tell what that is. It's all jumbled up.
I hope it's backwards.
It is backwards.
I want to disrespect them.
It is backwards.
I'm not a Sixers hater. I just, I'm a realist. Call a spade, Josh.
Okay.
And Matisse Thybulle's not good. I mean, does he hurt the team? No, but he doesn't help your fantasy team either.
Yeah, I don't know. 0.72 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days for Matisse Thybulle. Cam Reddish, 0.73.
Well, there you have it, Cam Reddish. There's your answer.
Oh.
There's your answer. Oh, you sucked yourself into it. No, look, the only reason I like Reddish a little bit more is because he actually can go out there, and if he starts shooting well, he can get up like 15 shots.
Absolutely.
It's not to say it's going to happen, and he will have some terrible games because he also is very lacking in peripherals. But I like the idea that Cam Reddish can at least get hot and give you a potential ceiling game. That's all. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
That's fair. Anybody else from Atlanta?
No one else. And Hunter's minutes to me are kind of strange right now. He's been another one where he's been all over the map.
Yeah, I have him in for 30, mostly because it doesn't matter. Like, he's terrible, and I can give him all the minutes in the world, and he's not going to show up for me. So
I feel like he once in a while has that really solid game. I'm certain, 100% certain, that I have not rostered him once all season where he's given me more than 20 fantasy points.
Do you know why that is? Because he averages 0.59 per minute.
He's brutal.
It's hard to get to 20 when you're averaging a half point per minute.
Yep. But I'm saying once in a while, he rips off that 35, 40 fantasy point game, once every couple of weeks. Never been there for it.
No. Raptors side, a lot of ownership coming into these guys on FanDuel. Basically, the entire rotation is 10% or higher. Biggest chalk coming into Pascal Siakam at 46%. On DK, this game's getting ignored. 11% to Siakam, 6% to Van Vliet. I like the 6% to Van Vliet at 6,700. I'd like to be north of that number, but yikes. You would think this would be a great spot, but it's not like Toronto is going to play everybody 40 minutes each against Atlanta. They're going to play probably 12 dudes here, all 18 minutes, and their ninth guy is probably better than most of Atlanta.
Can we talk about Siakam's minutes since returning from injury?
I would love to.
30 minutes in a 1-point game, 30 minutes in a 9-point game, 25 minutes in a blowout, 24 minutes in a game that was decided by 10 points.
Yeah. Gave him 28.
Gave him 28?
Gave him 28.
That's a very low number.
I should probably give him 30. Yeah.
I'm giving him 30, but I don't know. Some of these players that were getting such ridiculous amount of minutes earlier in the season, like, we have to be careful because you look at the price points and immediately you're like, oh, that looks good, right? Brad Beal, Siakam. You realize those 6, 7, 8 minutes in Beal's case that you're not getting, massive.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Raptors recognized it's not going to get us anywhere to run Siakam into the ground now. Hurt, bring him back. Chill out a little bit. We don't need 38 every night. Not gonna get us anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, what are you giving Van Vliet?
32.
So you're kind of curtailing all of these guys a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Lowry down to 34. Like I've cut the big minutes off of everybody at this point.
You know what's funny? Marc Gasol, even in a blowout against Washington, played 29 minutes.
Yeah.
Another team that I don't know what to do with. So I think it's better to just be a little bit conservative with the minutes and not go overboard.
Right. And not even just that, but I mean, the difference in talent level between the Toronto Raptors and Atlanta Hawks is pretty massive.
Yep. And they've also gotten the entirety of this team healthy now. So they're just not as appealing when you've got all these bodies on the floor and they're playing fewer minutes. So that's kind of the tough part here. You look at it and you're like, well, they're playing the Hawks. You have to love Toronto. I mean, yeah, I'd love Toronto to win this game, but what type of heavy ownership are you getting on guys unless their prices have come down to kind of match what we expect from their minutes and from usage being siphoned off from every direction since they got healthy.
Would you rather have Pascal Siakam today on FanDuel or Tobias Harris? Harris is $800 cheaper.
Always trying to suck me into this fucking Sixers talk. I would say it's got to be Tobias Harris.
I agree. Similar ownership right now.
I just wanted to make sure their price points. Yeah, so Tobias could play 37 minutes.
Good.
I mean, maybe Siakam gets back to it too. It's not an outlandish thought.
No. I just don't know how to prioritize anything from Toronto. I think they're going to play pretty flat in terms of minutes, and I don't. Someone's probably going to break free from like a per minute perspective, but I don't know. Maybe Norm Powell for 5,100 feels pretty safe on FanDuel. I don't know. Not a lot here to like.
Just looking at DraftKings ownership here, because some of these guys have seen their price points come down significantly.
Yeah.
And it really looks like the only player from this game in the top 20, maybe top 25 of ownership is Trey Young.
Yeah, 15%.
You got to come all the way down to 10% to get to your first Raptor.
And I agree with it.
It's not just us.
No, and I totally agree with it. I have nothing else here.
No. Van Vliet at 67. I guess I'd ask you about that. Is that somebody that at 6% is viable against this Hawks team?
Yes, to me, yes. If he's going to go that low owned at 6,700, I'm going to take my chances that he has a decent day.
I would agree with that.
He's definitely my favorite Raptor. But that's all I've got.
Lowry at 0%.
By the way, we have 1,500 people here. Don't be afraid to hit that like button, guys. Helps us out tremendously. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, but please give us the old thumbs up.
But please, it's good to have you guys with us, man. It's not often that we get to do these early afternoon slates. Usually we do the strategy show 9:30 in the morning, and only those degenerate as us are hanging out.
Exactly.
That's a compliment, by the way.
Very much so. And we move on to my Philadelphia 76ers in Brooklyn, as we mentioned before. Sixers 1.5 point underdogs.
Dear Philadelphia 76ers.
They are. Kyrie Irving, questionable now for today. Is fun to deal with. Lot to like here on the Brooklyn side. A lot to like on the Philly side. Could get even more ridiculous if Al Horford happens to be not playing today. Let's start with Brooklyn. Irving, Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, all 30% owned or higher. Kyrie Irving, 31% owned on DraftKings right now. And so that is for a massive slate. Let's talk about this for a little bit. Let's say Kyrie Irving plays. How do you feel about him? How do you feel about 31% ownership on Kyrie?
I was very surprised to see that.
So am I.
I think the 76ers' biggest weakness has been their inability to score, not their inability to contain opposing teams, right? I mean, you look at the scores against them, they lost or they held Chicago to 89 points. Oh God, you're right. That Knicks game wasn't 100 to 97. It was 90 to 87. Right? Yeah. That's heinous.
But it's still a W, baby. Woo!
Still a W. They held Brooklyn to 106. They lost to the Pacers, but only gave up 101. So I think you see what I'm getting at here. Yes. There have been a couple games where they give up more points, but still, this is not a defense that has been a sieve at all. It's their offense. They can't hit shots. There's no spacing in the front court, by the way, even with Embiid off the floor. I mean, it's bad. And when you can't knock down, and there's going to come a point, and here's where I think the Sixers see a little bit of positive regression. There has to be a point where these guys start to hit their threes, because they're all shooting right now over the past month way below career averages. So they have to see some type of positive regression. However, the defense, if they lose this game and it's a 102 to 97 game, no one's going to be surprised. So I'll
be sad.
Yeah, but not surprised.
No.
My point is they could lose this game by only giving up 98 or 100 points.
Yeah, for sure.
Dinwiddie, if Irving plays, will be in probably every one of my lineups at 6,700. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. 63 on FanDuel too. Looks even better as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, that's a 3-game slate, so you know what to do there. He's already getting 30%, right?
I mean, so is Bradley Beal. Fred VanVleet's at 24. Josh Richardson is at 30. Kevin Huerter is at 23. I would just rather have a lot more Dinwiddie and hope that Kyrie Irving just doesn't play.
Yeah. Or tweaks that hammy real early on, re-aggravates that.
Right. Or starts talking about weird stuff.
What are your thoughts on Irving on DraftKings, where he's right now getting the second most ownership of any player on the slate?
How many minutes do you have him projected for?
32.
Okay. I have him in for 30 as of right now. Okay. I could probably easily go north of that, but a downgrade to questionable doesn't exactly make me feel better. I'm not all that interested, and I certainly don't want him at 31%.
I think I'll say this much. If there's no restrictions, 30 minutes is low.
Yeah, I agree. 32 would be easy, but at the same time, would you rather have him at 31% ownership or SGA at 2?
Well, that's kind of the thing. The Sixers are not playing well, but their defense is not that bad.
Right.
And Irving's still a high volume shooter, so we like that.
Yeah, he's obviously going to be looking for his own.
Yeah, right. And his price is not bad.
No.
But yeah, that ownership is a lot right now. Maybe with another update, it'll come down.
Yeah. If it stays around 30, I have very little interest there. I would rather look to Dinwiddie. Joe Harris at 3,800, I think, is mildly interesting, but at 15% ownership, it seems like people already got there.
Yeah, pretty much. Garrett Temple back.
Yeah. Lucky for them.
Yeah. Not that it really made much of a difference anyway.
Nope. Jared Allen, 5,400 on FanDuel, power forward eligible. No DeAndre Jordan. Going to be hard to not play him a lot, but he's not even the most owned power forward. John Collins getting more ownership there. I would prefer Jared Allen in that case.
I have no issues with Jared Allen here. He did play 31 minutes against the Sixers last time out. DeAndre Jordan is still out, right? So yeah. I think, let me quickly pull up the from the 15th. Did DeAndre Jordan play that game? I can't remember.
15th?
I feel like
he played 10 minutes.
He played 10 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. So against Milwaukee, at DeAndre Jordan sideline, that was the 18th. Who was getting all the backup center minutes?
Was it
Claxton?
On the 15th?
On the 18th.
On the 18th, Claxton played 19
It was?
minutes. Yep. He played every minute that Jared Allen wasn't on the floor.
Okay. So I have no problem giving Allen 30-plus minutes today. Probably 30.
I think he looks really good, especially on FanDuel 5,400 as a power forward.
Yep. Maybe 30, maybe 31 minutes. The bench closed this game out for against Milwaukee. The bench played the final 7 minutes.
I think he's pretty clearly the best power forward option on FanDuel, and he is not being owned like that at all.
Yeah, it's strange to me that he isn't getting
been
owned
bad lately.
Yeah, that price though is just egregiously low for a guy that for 5,400 to me that's way too cheap.
Agreed. I completely agree.
I mean, he played 29. You look at his first half rotation against the Bucks. That game got out of hand towards the end, but he played 8 in the first and 8 in the second quarter. He played 16 minutes in the first half. The third quarter, he played 8 minutes, started the fourth quarter, played 5 minutes, and then him, Dinwiddie, Irving, Prince, all of them got taken off the floor in a game that was 20. They were down by 25 points and they never came back. So suffice it to say, Jared Allen could have played well over 30 in that game.
Yeah. I think he looks fantastic. I can't imagine not wanting to have a lot of him on FanDuel. I think he should be the most owned play.
Yep. Alex Len is out.
Okay. I was planning for that, so that's good. On to my Philadelphia 76ers. Let's treat this right out of the gate as if Horford is in. I think it's a lot easier to explain everything if he happens to be out later, but in changes things. These guys are unappealing on DraftKings per ownership. No one in double digits. Highest owned guy is Ben Simmons at 8%. FanDuel tells a much different story since it's a 3-gamer. Simmons at 40, Harris at 40, Horford at 20, Richardson at 30, my boy Matisse Thybulle at 30. A lot of ownership coming in. What do you like most from my Philadelphia 76ers?
You can have him, bro. Ben Simmons always has to be compared to everybody else on this slate. Like when you're getting an $80, $200 Simmons, I'm all over that. The big thing though for Simmons right now, and the reason I do have interest in him, is he has played his minutes over the past 4 games, right? Over the past 4. You know what? Screw it. I'll go back. You could go back as many games as you want, really. 43, 32, 30, 42, 38, 39, 37, 40, 41, 37, 40. He's playing monster minutes right now. His per minute production has left a decent amount to be desired, but when you're getting this type of run from Simmons, like legitimate 40 minutes in regulation, I do have interest in him.
He is my 4th favorite Sixer on FanDuel.
Wow. Okay.
But I could separate all those guys by moving 1 minute each direction.
How many minutes are you giving Simmons?
I have him at 37 right now.
Okay.
I rarely get north of 36 unless they establish. I try not to go too far over that, but 38 to 40 is certainly in play. If I gave him 1 additional minute, he would jump across Tobias Harris and Jay Rich and Thybulle. But those guys grade out a little bit better on a per minute basis for me right now. But all 4 of those guys are firmly ahead of Al Horford.
On DraftKings,
I'd rather have none of them.
Yeah, Simmons is getting more ownership than anyone from the Sixers on DraftKings, and he's coming in at 7%.
Right.
It's crazy. Now, the big thing too is if Horford sits, then you have to ask yourself what's going to happen. Everybody will certainly be jumping on Kyle O'Quinn, but
yeah,
I would definitely caution you that Norvel Pell could get the start here. It's very possible.
Mike Scott's minutes would become relevant again instead of being not relevant like they've been for the past couple games. But if Horford is out, it's just kind of easy. Probably play the center that starts. You can probably play the other guy too, but you prefer the guy that starts. And I think that Mike Scott is a viable punt.
Yeah, I mean, so would O'Quinn, by the way, Al Horford game time decision now.
Coop.
Would Quinn and Pell split the 5 minutes is the question.
Probably, right?
I don't know.
Mike Scott could play the 5 in this game.
He could. He absolutely could. Which is why I'm not confident that both of these guys would end up getting all of those minutes. I don't know.
you're taking whoever starts for sure, right? Like, we're in agreement that whoever starts for the Sixers, if Al Horford is out, is a decent play because of their salary.
Yeah, and I would think that it would be Norvel Pelle because he's actually been playing.
Right, I agree. It would be really weird for it to be someone else.
Yeah, so I would assume, and by the way, Pelle, miserable offensive player. Keep that in mind. This guy is a bad offensive player. Decent enough rebounder.
Hey, Norvel Pelle ruled out. So, never mind.
All right.
Very obviously play Kyle O'Quinn if Al Horford is out.
I mean, at this point, that is hilarious, by the way. I love getting news as it happens. That's great.
Twice, and we're only on the
I
third.
mean, how lucky do you have to be?
We're 50 minutes in, and we're on the third game, and that's happened twice.
That's incredible. Someone's listening.
Yeah.
I would say that if Horford sits, this is not even speculation. Kyle O'Quinn is far and away the best value play on the slate. DraftKings with 9 games everywhere, you will not get a better value play than Kyle O'Quinn. Yeah. Maybe like Mike Scott starts at the 5, but even so, I don't see any way O'Quinn would play less than 24, 25 minutes.
No, not now. Has to.
I'm saying if Horford is out too.
Yeah, if Horford is out, I mean, no brainer on O'Quinn. They just don't have any other alternatives. There's too many minutes at those positions. I mean, honestly, this is going to sound really ridiculous. Ben Simmons can play the 5 against Brooklyn.
He was playing the 5 against Enes Kanter when they faced Boston.
That's way more aggressive than this one.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
That would only be for short stints, though. He's not starting at the 5.
No. What I mean is, like I could see a path down the line where we overreact to Kyle O'Quinn, and it's just like, oh, everybody else played center because everybody else is the same. Like Mike Scott and Ben Simmons are basically the same person, and they didn't care about Nick Claxton, so they just went with whoever.
You're not wrong even a little bit there. I would still have to have O'Quinn towards the top, though. Like,
no doubt. If Horford is out, you have to play Kyle O'Quinn. He's going to play 20 minutes plus.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a way more than 1 fantasy point per minute guy.
So here's something interesting, though. I think Pelle was out on the 17th, and O'Quinn played 16 minutes against Chicago. Al Horford played 32 minutes. So O'Quinn got all of the backup center minutes in that game, and that's kind of what I'm going off of here.
God, this is going to be gross. I just hope that Horford plays. It's easier that way. Do you like Kyle O'Quinn if Al Horford plays?
Well, I would give him 16 minutes.
Okay, I agree.
I don't think it would be crazy.
No, not at all.
But I'd give him around 16 minutes. I'd expect him to get the backup center minutes.
Okay. Rank the other 3 main Sixers: Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson.
On
DK.
Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson. Simmons, Harris, Richardson.
Okay. I'm going to go Simmons, Richardson, Harris. That's very tight. I really don't like Philly at all on DraftKings unless we get Al Horford news that he is out.
Yep, none of these guys are priorities.
I agree.
If Horford's out, everything changes.
I agree. Let's hit 1 5:00 game. We'll take a little bit of a break after that. Hornets and Magic. Magic are 4-point favorites in Charlotte. The Hornets have the lowest implied total on the slate by a lot. The Magic have the second lowest, even though they are favored. On the Hornets side, I need to update ownership because we are now on to a different slate entirely for FanDuel. Thanks for that. All that does is make things more complicated. Incredibly hard to track. Devontae Graham at 17% on FanDuel. He is the only guy from Charlotte that I have a ton of interest in, at least on FD. On DraftKings, 7,100 for Graham. Also very much in play for me. Miles Bridges at 15% ownership. I could pretty much do without, but I guess it's probably not all that bad at 30 minutes. Cody Zeller at 4K seems viable. He's at 13% ownership. You looking to do anything for Charlotte against a pretty stout Magic defense?
No, not particularly. Another thing to consider is with all of the games on this slate, this game, excuse me, damn, this game has a total that's 10 points lower than the next lowest total.
Yeah.
And that's with all 14 games.
That's a lot.
Like, yeah, if you took all of the games just from the 2 and 5 p.m. spot, this game is 13 points lower than the next lowest, which is Philly and Brooklyn. So I always try and preface it with that doesn't mean we're ignoring a game like this. It doesn't mean that I don't have any interest if there's something there, but something really has to be there. And I will say that Devontae Graham's price keeps dropping.
I love
which
it.
is kind of strange because he can go out there and rip off 50 fantasy points real easy.
Yes, he can. And I would like him to today because he grades out real well.
Pretty low floor on Graham. I think we both agree on that.
Yeah, he hasn't been good lately.
No, he has not been great. But at the same time, I'm looking at this too. They were on a 4-game road stretch at Utah, at Phoenix, at Portland, at Denver. Not to say all of those are tough. At Phoenix, at Portland, not that bad. 44 and 52 DraftKings points.
Take that. You'll take that.
So he's a high volume shooter. And the fact that he's going to go out there and probably play 37 minutes again, Devontae Graham in this spot is actually pretty appealing. So where's he coming in with ownership? Oh, he's up there, but nothing crazy, 17%. Terry Rozier, I believe, coming in a lot lower than he is.
He's 5%. At 6. Graham is at 17.
I think that price is too low on Graham. He's always a risk, but it's a very nice price point.
Do you want anything else from Charlotte? I'm assuming the answer is no.
No, but I really do think 7,100 is too cheap.
Okay.
What about you?
It's just Graham for me. Miles Bridges, I think, is fine, but I think he's already getting the ownership he deserves, so I don't have like a take above that. That seems about right to me. I don't know. On the Magic side, Vooch, Fultz, and Aaron Gordon all in double digits on both FanDuel and DraftKings. If you're asking me to pick between them all, it would likely be Fournier, then Vooch, then Gordon. This is a great matchup because Charlotte is terrible defensively, but at the same time, Orlando is not exactly the best from an offense perspective. They are a good team in general, not a great DFS team, and pretty much everybody's salary is where it should be now that they've had these injuries for a bit. I find this game to be wildly unappealing, and I would like to mostly ignore it. I'm surprised that Orlando's getting as much ownership as they are.
Over the last month, right? The team that leads the league in pace is the Bucks, season 2, 104.6 possessions per 48.
Okay.
The Hornets are literally averaging 11 fewer possessions per 48. They're at 94.05.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why Graham isn't, crazy overpriced.
Where's Orlando's pace in that list too?
Orlando's pace over that span isn't as far down as, 99. So below 100.
I have them 28th and 30th in the league right now.
Oh, yeah, in the league. Over the last month, Orlando's played a little bit quicker, but it really doesn't make a huge difference. The big thing here, though, is that over that same span, the Charlotte Hornets rank 29th in defensive rate. No, tied for last. Tied for last in defensive rating. So they're playing at the slowest pace in the league. They also have the worst defense in the league over that span. It kind of mitigates the pace a little bit, but it's still a really ugly game.
Yeah, I don't want to be here. It's too slow. It's too unappealing from an offense perspective. The salaries are where they need to be, so I'm not super interested there. This is just not a great DFS game. They should wipe this one off the 5 o'clock slate.
They should, but what's amazing is there are 4 players all getting 14 or more % ownership on DraftKings.
For the game, there are 6. Graham, Bridges, Zeller, Vooch, Fournier, Gordon, all north of What are you saying?
I said 14 or higher.
Oh, okay. That's a
percent.
weird cutoff.
Basically 15 because it's 14.8. So 15% or higher.
Okay. That's fair.
And then what? 6 above 10%, right?
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. So this game is actually reasonably popular.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it
It's
at all.
strange to me. Graham should be where he is. Fournier at 5,600, I think is fine, right? Like he's okay. Vooch at 84, he's okay.
It's just filler. It's just a lot of
they're filler. Yeah, they're filler. And there was someone that had tweeted us, and he wasn't insulting us. He had said like, "Hey, we love the content, but I'd love if you guys were like came in with less of the he's okay takes. Really try not to, but in a spot like this, they're not great. They're not horrible. They're just okay. Like that's really all you can say about them."
Exactly. Guys, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. We've got just under 1,700 people here on a Monday afternoon. I love it.
Hey, what better way to spend your time on Martin Luther King Day, right?
I've got some crunches pulled up for Super Draft. Super Draft is running a $20,000 guaranteed contest, $12 entry fee, $4K to first. It's a fantastic payout structure. Very intrigued by this. So I ran my crunch to start the day. Optimal lineup: Harden, Westbrook, Ball, Yanis, Brandon Ingram, Lauri Markkanen, Nikola Vucevic. I like it a lot, man. I like it a lot. But I think we should take a look at a couple of these. Maybe build a lineup together. What do you say?
Let's do it. I mean, I'm going to get in on this, and I haven't played Super Draft yet. I'm gonna pop that cherry today.
Give me a player that you think stands out for today's slate. And we'll see how many lineups I have as of right now with them.
All right.
Super Draft running a main slate starting at 5, so they've got an 11 gamer going today. And I mentioned at the top of the show, James Harden is the guy that showed up the most. I crunched 300 lineups. I could probably crunch a couple more in the background.
It's really funny because we just talked about Devontae Graham, and what's his multiplier? Let's see. What's his multiplier on Super Draft?
That's a good question. Let's find out. Devontae Graham's multiplier is 1.4.
See, like that's kind of interesting, but is it worth it?
That's a good question. So if I use just my projections and I scroll back up here to the top, the highest projected guy that I have using multipliers is Kevin Love. He's a 1.4x multiplier today against the New York Knicks.
You know what I was thinking? And this is a new concept to me. So, trying to wrap my brain around everything. We have target scores for individual players based on their salaries.
Yeah.
Is there just one target score on Super Draft?
Probably. Although, also, by the way, it wasn't Kevin Love. I was filtered to power forward. He is the highest scoring power forward. James Harden still number 1.
Okay.
That was ridiculous.
Do you know what I'm saying, though?
I do.
Like, is there a target score? Not for one individual player based on salary, but like for each player, do they all are we really all just looking for that to hit that same target score across the entire player pool?
We are, especially because center might complicate it a little bit. It's 3 guards, 3 forwards, and a center.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the center piece of that can get a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, ultimately you're looking for everybody's target is going to be comparable.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I've
got Harden 1, Ingram 2, Morant 3. Those are my top 3.
Your target score should basically be James Harden. Like
kinda, yeah.
You know what I mean? Very in layman's terms, whatever you're getting from Harden, because he's 1x, right? So
yeah,
like can I get James Harden production from Devontae Graham? Because if we're playing Harden and you have 81% of him in your crunches right now, that means that whatever he's projected for, even at 1x, is still more than pretty much almost anyone else with their multipliers.
So I just grabbed a slate from a couple days ago. 700 people in the contest. The winning score was 592. So that's on 7 people. So we're talking about 85 fantasy points per person. So it's even bigger than that. You're going to be looking at like a quarter of a standard deviation above that. So Donovan Mitchell had a 1.45x multiplier that day. He put up 90. Rubio at a 1.4, he put up 95. Kemba Walker at a 1.45, he put up 91. So you're looking to hit. Michael Porter Jr. had a 2x multiplier, hung 94.
Jeez.
So you're looking for about 90 ahead just based on this one?
So, I mean, is James Harden the guy then? Like, is 80% Harden sensible? I feel like it's not.
I have James Harden's odds of hitting 90 fantasy points at 7.
At what, 1%?
7%.
That's still pretty high.
Yeah. Interesting.
Right.
Interesting.
I kind of like it.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that was the winning lineup there. The Daily Dime from a couple days ago. Winning lineup was Mitchell, Walker, Rubio, Kawhi, Yanis, Porter, and Ayton. Lowest score in all of that was Kawhi at 65. He was 86% owned.
So how would you recommend people crunch something like this?
Well, we have the projections that are free today. So if you go to awesemo.com, you should be able to navigate directly to our Super Draft projections. And this should be pretty clean. You're just trying to build the highest projected lineups that you can find.
Exactly.
So you don't have to worry about optimization, so to speak. You're just trying to create the highest score you can.
I mentioned it to you earlier when I asked you about it, and I stopped myself and I said, hold on a second. This is the most basic level of lineup crunching ever because it's just who has the most fantasy points without salaries intact.
Yep, absolutely. So you're just trying to build what you think could be the highest possible score. And I would guess that you want to pay attention to guys that have sizable multipliers that can put up a big score. So like Ja Morant, for instance, today is at a 1.5x. That's intriguing to me because Ja Morant can go for 150 legitimate points. That's 75 if he goes for that. That's a big number. Other guys that like Kevin Love at 1.4, I think that's important.
I just deposited right now.
There you go. You use that promo code Awesemo, get yourself $20 of super cash on your first $100 deposit.
Give me that bonus.
I know, right?
Wait, can I play in PA or not? I better be able to, right?
Kyrie Irving ruled out.
Oh, here we go.
Fire up your Spencer Dinwiddies.
Here we go.
Fire up your Spencer Dinwiddie.
I mean, Dinwiddie is now just a top option across the board.
Absolutely. But yeah, $20K guaranteed on Super Draft tonight. $12 entry fee. You can put in up to 58 entries. They're about a third of the way full right now. 4K to first. Come join us. Lofty's already in, or at least he's trying to be in.
I'm trying, man.
I will be in. I will be registering immediately after this show. Check it out, guys. Big fan. I'm very intrigued by it.
It is kind of neat.
I need to build.
And I've told you before, I generally hate when DFS sites try and reinvent the wheel.
Right.
I hate it.
I think this is better.
But this is actually kind of cool. And like, you just need projections.
Yep. Just need projections.
And by the way, I'm not just saying that because they sponsor the show. Josh and I have had many instances where, you do your best. You do your best, but it's laborious. This is actually pretty neat.
I like this. There's definitely some theory to this in that, I have the contest from a couple days ago. There were 700 people in this contest. The one that we were that I was reading off before. And like Donovan Mitchell was 76% owned, but he also scored 91 fantasy points. So like that is chalk you need. Yanis was 71% owned. He scored 67. Kawhi Leonard was 86% owned. He scored 65. I think there's a lot of places available to pivot off of stars that are getting a lot of ownership because they can. A lot of people
Exactly.
jamming Yanis into a lineup. 71% of them. He's at 1x. I would guess that there's a comparable guy at 1.2 at like 2% ownership that should have been looked at pretty obviously on that day.
I would agree with you.
Want to get back into this slate, bang out these final 5, and then get out of here? We got 45 minutes to lock.
I know, dude. We could go 17 hours.
Right, but I mean, we want to finish these games off, before at least the 2 o'clock lock.
Oh, of course. We will. We will.
Well, then let's get into it. With the Cleveland Cavaliers and New York Knicks, Cavs 1.5-point favorites at home. This game is a game made up of 2 teams that should get relegated. But yet, luckily for them, they are not in Europe. Kevin Love, 41% owned on FanDuel at 6,900. I agree with it completely. Tristan Thompson, 17% owned at 5,700 on FanDuel. I think he should be owned significantly more. On DK, Love at 20. Tristan Thompson, double digits. Sexton, 20. Garland, 20. Nance, 20. The Cavs standing out to you against the Knicks?
Well,
I'm going to fill my water. Fill me in.
I think Larry Nance is interesting because, well, we're still waiting on some news when it comes to John Henson. And I don't know if that's going to make a huge difference, but I would imagine in the event that Henson is out, you probably get another 25 minutes from Nance. Now, we're also waiting on Al Horford. How does that affect the minutes here? And I would say with Henson getting, generally speaking, most of the backup minutes behind Thompson, what you've seen the past couple of games is Love just playing all of the minutes that Thompson doesn't play. So what I was saying here, Josh, can you hear me?
Oh, I had you the whole time, brother.
You got me the whole time. So
AirPods
are great, aren't they? Yeah. So essentially, if Henson's out, Love gets the backup center minutes,
yes,
which we saw last time. And then what you get after that is probably another 25 minutes from Larry Nance.
Right.
So I think Henson might not seem like a big thing, but if Henson plays, you could go back down to 18, 19 minutes from Nance. And I don't know how I feel about that. I know I wouldn't want him at that.
Right.
25 minutes from Nance at 2,400, I'd be okay with against New York.
Yeah, I have him in for 18 right now because I have Henson in. That will obviously change otherwise.
What would you give him if Henson's out? 24, 25, right?
Yep, sounds about right. And he'd be a fantastic value sub 4K.
Yeah.
He's been so bad as of late. I have him as a point per minute guy in my model, and he is 0.2 of a point off of that over the last 30 days. Just been a rough stretch for Nance.
Dude, were you out? Someone just tweeted at us, we have to fill Josh in on that crazy slate. Were you in San Fran on the slate where we had, you were because Ben and I did it together. There were
Friday
4 guys on DraftKings with 460 plus players in the winning lineups on DraftKings, 6 of 50 plus. Crazy.
What was the final score?
420, 440, something.
What was it on
DraftKings? On DraftKings.
Right, but did FanDuel get to 500 or did they just not
I think
have
it hit some
pricing?
Yeah, somebody had tweeted at it. It was like, dude, that's nothing compared to the one where Harden and Trey went for 80 plus on the same slate. It's like, yeah, those are 2 players and there were some good scores, but this was one where everyone was going for 60. It was crazy.
I was at my 60th winery of the day.
Put it this way. I think
low on the function level.
I think 360 was min cashing on DraftKings.
That is insanity.
Yeah.
Insanity. I love Kevin Love here. One way or the other, 6,900 on FanDuel. He's 41% owned, and that's exactly that looks great to me. He looks fantastic.
Yeah, man. I really like Kevin Love as well. And I would really also keep this in mind. Kevin Love, if John Henson's out, is actually more appealing. Not a significant boost, but the more backup center minutes Love gets, the more I like him from a rebounding perspective too.
Yeah, and he's, again, as I mentioned before, based on the Super Draft multipliers, he is my number 4 guy today.
Yeah.
And I would guess he wouldn't get nearly the same ownership as my number 5 guy, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Christian says 480, 487, I think, took down the $7 on FanDuel.
Oh my. Wow. Anything else you want from Cleveland? Because these guys are getting some ownership. We got, Garland and Sexton both around the 20s, and I am not interested in that. Although,
I don't want to pay that much for Sexton. I don't want to pay that much for Colin Sexton. Once in a while, you get a solid performance from him. Generally, you can live without getting 32 at 6,100. You know,
Right. I agree.
I would say for me, it's Kevin Love, who I like a lot. I think we both like Kevin Love quite a bit here.
Yes.
And another thing too about Love that's really interesting is his minutes have gone from like 30 per game to upwards of 37. I love knowing that. I've got him at 34 minutes today, and
Same.
that's not crazy at all. So Love, and if Henson's out, I think right now, based on no Horford news, Henson would be, or sorry, Larry Nance would be one of the better value plays on this slate on DraftKings.
I completely agree. If you can get Larry Nance up to around 24 minutes today, that's going to be a spot you want to go.
Agreed.
Knicks, Marcus Morris at 34% ownership on FanDuel, where he's 5,200. He's also picking up some ownership on DK. Elfrid Payton, Julius Randle, also getting a little bit of love. I really like Randle's $30 price tag on Yahoo. Those are pretty much the only guys that I'm looking at Randle, Morris, and Payton. If you want to go to a little bit of Mitchell Robinson for 4,900 on FanDuel, I always think that is worth a flyer, especially against a team like Cleveland. With Barrett out, it's opening up minutes, but it's opening up minutes to guys that aren't going to get enough. Like I'm not trying to sift through Alonzo Trier, Damian Dotson. Bullock's minutes are steady, but he's not a great fantasy guy. So, I'm in for Randle, I'm in for Morris, I'm in for Payton. I would rank them Morris, Randle, Payton, and I think Morris should probably be owned a little bit more than he is, at least on FanDuel, given the construction, but I don't want to go too wild. This is a great fantasy game in that both defenses are terrible.
By the way, I mentioned Horford. Boom. Thank you, news gods. Al Horford will play.
Good.
So, yeah, that's good.
I didn't want to go back and talk about it again.
We don't need to. Morris was the one you were saying is.
Yeah, I think he's pretty clearly the best option today from the Knicks, but what do you think?
No, I think so too. He's popular, but I guess rightfully so. I mean, on DraftKings right now for this 9-gamer, you've got him coming in as your 5th highest owned player. Is that right? The Garland, by the way, is the 3rd highest.
Yeah, with 24% owned.
Hold on, we just got an update
Of ownership, or is somebody else weird out?
Of ownership, yes.
Let me grab it.
And Larry Nance is up there. Marcus Morris, 2nd highest on the slate.
We got an ownership update?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, DraftKings early. Sorry, I was on the FanDuel main.
You're good, but we're still got to wait on the Irving news to kick in.
Right.
That's going to change everything.
It is indeed.
So we still got time. Knicks, though, let me see here, man. I'd say Morris makes the most sense. Yes. Do I love Marcus Morris at that ownership? Not even a little bit. No. I think the price is good. The minutes are good. Cleveland playing terrible defensively. All of that stuff makes somebody like Marcus Morris interesting in what should be a close game. Fun game, not so much. Competitive, yeah, 1.5 point spread. And it does have a 222 total, which I think is pretty significant. By the way, Mahimi starting at the 5. It's Thomas, Payton. So Payton's starting. Beal, Bonga, and Mahimi. So I think you and I were correct in saying that now that Pasechniks is out, Mahimi is going to be getting. I think Brian gets the backup, maybe plays 18.
Yeah. We were also incredibly wrong in that we moved Gary Payton out of the rotation and he is now a starter. So,
yep. Well, listen, that was the center rotation though, because it pushed everything down and it squeezed him out. Pasechniks was getting like 22 minutes a game. So, yeah, it's kind of significant. Anyway, what are your final thoughts on Morris at this specific ownership right now? 1, 2, 3, 4. God, this game is really popular right now. Assuming there
are 9 guys in double digits.
Wow,
9.
Elfrid Payton's cheap. I mean, Morris is cheap.
Yeah.
Nance, Love, Sexton. I'm not there, but
Morris is the guy I like the most in this entire game, but I don't like anybody on DraftKings a lot.
Okay. I think Peyton at 5,300, if you get the minutes from him, last game he played 32 in a competitive game. It was close. It's tough because they don't play a lot of competitive games. This one should be. So I expect him to play between 30 and 32 minutes. I'm fine with that. He's been identical per minute guy. I think actually like 0.999 fantasy points per minute this season. I have no issues with him, Marcus Morris. But the problem with me is considering either of them priorities is difficult just because very high on popular Knicks makes me feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. High on popular Cavs don't make me feel much better either.
No, but at least I know that Kevin Love's a legitimately good basketball player
Agreed.
that's going to probably play 35 minutes.
Yeah, he is the exception. Houston Rockets, Oklahoma City Thunder, 6.5-point favorites at home against OKC for the Rockets. This is a tale of two players. James Harden is 11.4 on FanDuel, 11K on DraftKings. I like the $51 price on Yahoo. Russ is 9,500 on FanDuel, 9,800 on DK. I'm a little surprised that Russ isn't getting more love, but 4% ownership at this point. I like a lot of the things that are around him anyway. 6% actually. I like a lot of the guys around him way more, but sign me up for all the James Harden if he's only 13% owned.
Wow. And you got a lot on SuperDraft too. You mentioned a lot.
Yes, he was my most popular player.
So $11,000 James Harden is pretty wild. Also, for anybody tuning in, I just want you to, for anyone that tuned in now and didn't catch the beginning of the show, Adam Scher and I are doing a deeper dive, kind of live before lock at 4:00, going up to 5 p.m. Eastern for that FanDuel lock, SuperDraft lock, also at 5 p.m. So we got you there. Yeah. And then Josh and Spags will be back at 6:30 live before lock for the 7:30 lock on DraftKings. So we're not going through every game into the 7s and 8 o'clocks right now because it would be not helpful to any of you,
right?
To blend them all into one. This is specifically for everything up and through the 5 p.m. games, and then we'll be back at 4 p.m. So stick around for that in a couple of hours. I'm with you on Harden. When you're coming in at that price point, at that ownership, it's tough to get away from. The big question here is for you, and I'll just ask you before we even get to this game because it's important. Yanis or Harden?
Harden.
$200 difference in price.
Harden. It's Harden.
Yanis, dude, I love Yanis and Antetokounmpo, and you know I'm very willing, probably more than you, to bump Giannis's minutes when I think a game can stay competitive, right? Yeah. I'm willing to take that risk and say I'm going to give him 32 here because if this game stays close, I don't want to not have Giannis.
Absolutely.
I don't know how Yanis plays more than 25 minutes today.
We are on the exact same page. I think I gave Harden 38, and it's really hard to overcome that many minutes on the floor.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm not going to try. I'm just going to play James Harden.
That's right. Ibaka on the bench, Siakam and Gasol in the front court. I will point out that Siakam at the 3 is way less appealing than Siakam at the 4. So.
Are we calling Anunoby the 4 here?
No. I'm saying when Siakam was starting at the 3, there was a game.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
So all right. I should rephrase it. Siakam at the 4 is a lot more appealing than Siakam at the 3.
Agreed.
Because he's at the 4 today.
Agreed. Yeah. So I was like, I think
I worded it wrong. I made it sound like he was back at the 3.
Yeah, I'm 100% Harden for today. Love the dude. Gonna have a lot of them on SuperDraft. Gonna have a lot of them clear across the board.
You just can't you can't pass up the 10 probably say 10 more minutes than Giannis, maybe more.
Could be.
They're 14-point favorites.
Yeah, I'm fully in for the James Harden experience. I really like Russ for 9,500 on FanDuel. I think that's a nice price tag for him.
I have no problem with that.
I think he and Ben Simmons in the 9s both look pretty good. I'd rather have both of them than Trey Young up over 10K.
Would you rather have Westbrook over Trey Young? Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
What about on DraftKings? Westbrook 98, Trey Young 95.
I'd rather have Trey Young.
Okay. So would I, by the way.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you had mentioned FanDuel before. I think you did.
Yeah, Trey Young is $800 more expensive than Russ on FanDuel.
Yeah, give me Russ for sure. Russ is playing good basketball recently. It's only been the past few games, but look, he is a shot volume is so important because with Russ, he's not a good shooter. So you need as many shots as possible. He's shooting 20 plus times every single game.
Oh, yeah. And he's still he's not the Russ from before, but he's still at 1.35 fantasy points per minute over the last 30 days. I mean, the dude's out there cooking.
Oh, yeah. On DraftKings this season, he's 1.39 DraftKings points per minute on the season.
Yeah, there you go. I don't really have much interest in anything else here. Capella at 4% ownership on FanDuel at 7,900, I think deserves to be pointed out a bit, but I don't need any Gordon or Tucker or Macklemore or any of these goons.
No, me neither. And it's tough to even compare Capella ownership because we're not hitting on those 7 p.m. games.
Absolutely. On the OKC side, Chris Paul at 11% ownership on DraftKings. Hamidou Diallo at 12. I like.
You're gonna do what?
Exactly. I like Oklahoma City on FanDuel. I like Paul's price. I like SGA's price. I like Adams' price. I like Gallo's price. I have a lot more interest in that team on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I mean, I guess Chris Paul for 6,800, but I'd rather just not get them. It is a pace up spot for the Thunder, but I'm not enamored with anything on OKC. I think everybody is priced appropriately.
DraftKings, Rose, Beal, or SGA. $200 difference between all of them.
Rose, Beal, or SGA on DraftKings. Rose, Beal, SGA.
Okay. Minutes mostly.
Yeah, for sure. And SGA has been a lot better lately.
He's playing well.
Been playing better lately than he was early in the season.
He's seen an uptick in assist potential assists, rebound chances. I don't know if that's here to stay, but it's definitely been influencing his numbers. And you're getting well-rounded stat lines, which is the reason he's playing much better. It's not like his scoring is significantly improved, right?
No.
He's averaging 20 points per game on the season. I'd say over his last 10, he's probably averaging 21 or 22. It's the fact that he's actually rebounding and dishing out assists at an above average clip. That's what you need from somebody like him, because otherwise Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is probably going to disappoint you at this price point most of the time.
I do get disappointed by him pretty regularly too. We should be getting an injury report in right now. Hasn't been posted yet. See if I can.
No, well, I mean, we already have the news.
We do have it. Injury report is out for right now. I'm going to take a quick eyeball over this. Sum up some Thunder thoughts. That's really hard to say. I'm just going to take a quick lap through this injury report for the first time and see if I can beat any news to the punch.
Yeah, no problem. For me, SGA is pretty viable here. The total in this game is coming in at 231, which on this slate is the highest outside of the Washington Wizards, Pistons, Memphis, and New Orleans. So it's the third highest on the slate. It's a pretty appealing game overall, but I think it's mostly Harden and Westbrook for me. Not going to get to much Capella. And then for the Thunder, I don't mind SGA. I don't dislike him. I think he's a decent enough option. The one thing that makes him more appealing, though, is right now he's coming in with very, very minimal ownership, 4.8%.
Yeah.
This is one of those games that, using the term shootout would be incorrect, but it could end up being a track meet where you see a just back and forth affair, competitive. These teams are both good basketball teams. I know OKC has been a lot better at home, but still, I think there is room to see this be one of those games where, Harden and Westbrook both play 40 minutes. Gilgeous-Alexander plays 38 minutes. Chris Paul comes in, gives you 35 minutes. It wouldn't be a surprise. It's a big game for both teams. And I'd say SGA for me, and then Chris Paul, not really getting the Schroeder, not getting the Adams with Nerlens Noel back. That's pretty much it. And like you said, prices are better on FanDuel, no question. I not on a 9-gamer do I think it's necessary to pay for Danilo Gallinari. I know he's been pretty decent lately, but very, very seldom will not playing Gallinari hurt you.
I completely agree with you there. No interesting news on the injury report that I saw that we weren't ready for.
Okay. I know we got to get through this, but we had a good question, and I always want to answer our guys in premium Slack chat, our paying subs. Morgan Smith says, Josh Laffey, how many nets is too many on DraftKings? He's asking this obviously because Irving is out.
3?
Yeah.
4?
I mean, on
DraftKings, it's a bigger slate. So
right.
There's not that much interesting now.
So I already thought Jared Allen alone was decent enough. Was he a necessity on DraftKings? Certainly not. But he's fine. He doesn't really change based on the Irving news though. So
no, not at all.
I guess the question would be, you're looking at Karis LeVert, Joe Harris, Garrett Temple. These guys are all really cheap, Josh. Yeah. So it's a pretty good question by Morgan. We didn't cover that. Wilson Chandler's out, and now you're not getting those Dinwiddie Irving minutes alongside each other.
I mean, I think it's just you're willing to play Dinwiddie, Jared Allen plus a third. I don't know why you would be trying to recommend anyone would be wanting to get a fourth net against the Sixers on a 9-gamer.
Right. And I think the question would be, the follow-up would be, would you play Dinwiddie, Harris, and Temple at 38 and 3,500? Would probably be, or LeVert, who's been a colossal disappointment since returning.
If I'm going to be playing 3 nets, one of them is going to be Jared Allen.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable running with 2 of those wings against the Sixers. It seems like a bad idea.
Agreed. Memphis Grizzlies, New Orleans Pelicans. This one should be a track meet for real. 120 implied total for the Grizzlies, highest on the slate. 118.5 for the Pels, also quite high. Memphis, big time. This is just a big pace spot clear across the board. Right
Grizz
now,
are playing good basketball.
They are. Right now, I have the Pelicans 3rd in my pace metric. I have Memphis at 9th. So this is a quick one. This is going to be a quick one. Joe Val is 6,500 on FanDuel. He's at 10% ownership, and he's been playing 28 minutes a game regularly now. I love him in this spot. This looks fantastic. That is a FanDuel price, but I still like him on DK. I would say Joe Val is my favorite Grizzly of anyone on the Grizzlies.
What's the Grizzlies record over the last 7, if you had to guess?
6-1?
7-0.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I knew that they were 13-3.
Yeah.
Whatever.
They beat Houston in there.
I watched a lot of that Rockets game, actually.
It's a fun game. Dude, they beat Houston and they blew out the Clippers at the Staples Center.
Yeah. So they're playing legit basketball right now. They are a sneaky team for wanting, if someone good wanted to sign somewhere, Memphis is a sneaky team that has a lot of youth getting better. A good wing to fit in with Morant, Jaren Jackson, Brandon Clark, at the very least a nice rotation piece. You get that good 3, doesn't need to shoot. Otto Porter would be really good on Memphis if he wasn't making $30 million a year or could step on the floor. But a guy that doesn't have to have the ball, can defend bigger wings, not you want Morant to have the ball constantly. Somebody in that ilk. A better Jay Crowder.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm with you on Joe Val too. By the way, remind me next strategy show. I have a phenomenal scenario question to pose to you, and everyone will want it to. We don't have time for it on this one.
Can you tell me it now, and we can wait until Friday for the answer?
No. We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait till Friday. It's good though. It'll be a lot of fun.
Well, tell me after the show at least, because
we'll get the listeners and the viewers involved as well.
Okay.
But with Joe Val, listen, you and I both always love this guy because when he's getting the minutes, he's dominant.
Yes.
Right. He's dominant when he gets the opportunity. Sure, he's going to have some rough games, but that'll happen. And he's 1.32 DraftKings points per minute on the season. When he gets the run, he can give you monster doubles. I think the price point here against New Orleans is just more than reasonable. Is there some downside? Yeah, sure there is. But if you get 30 minutes again from Joval, even 29 minutes from him, you're probably not going to be all that disappointed with the production. Do you like him on DraftKings at 71, or is this just a FanDuel thing?
I do like him at 71 on DraftKings. He's in a weird spot because like the guys that are surrounding him are Devontae Graham, Lonzo Ball, and Chris Paul, and I think they're all pretty comparable. Trying to find like, I would rather have him than $6,400 Tristan Thompson. I would rather have him than $7,500 Pascal Siakam. There's just not a lot at his position around him, but yeah, I like Joval quite a bit. I have him 8th overall on DK, if that helps you.
8th overall?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's relative to salary, but yeah, I'm a fan.
No, I get it. I'm okay with it.
I like a lot of Memphis, man. I like Jay Crowder. I like Brandon Clark. I like Jaren Jackson. I don't really love Morant on DK, but I do on FanDuel and I do on Yahoo. Like, there's a lot to like for Memphis. This is a great DFS game.
Absolutely, man. And Morant's minutes have seen a significant uptick. The only thing I'd say about him, and I mentioned it the other day, we ended up getting like 40 from him, which certainly didn't kill you at 8K, but he's going to come in with basically no ownership again because of that price. It is interesting to know that, hey, his minutes recently have trending upwards in a big way. You know, we were hoping he'd get to 30 before. Now he's gone 34, 30 in a blowout, 37, 33. So Morant getting 35 minutes here is not out of the question, which does make him at least remotely appealing. He's been flirting with triple doubles recently because of these additional minutes. I do agree with you that I think he's a little bit, the price is a bit lofty. It's a bit expensive, but it's also a game right now that has a 240 point total. So there's a decent amount to talk about here. And I don't mind paying a little bit more for these guys on Memphis than normal, only because nobody else feels the same way. Like if this game ends up, like you said, being a track meet with 250 total points, which would surprise nobody.
No, not at all.
Ja Morant's 3% owned and Joval's 8% owned. You know, I think I'm willing to take that risk in some spots.
I could not. I mean, I'm shocked to see their ownership be so low.
What's Morant's multiplier?
1.4, I believe.
Oh, that's
1.5. He is my
That's crazy.
He's my number 3 guy on SuperDraft.
He's probably going to be my number 1. I haven't looked at it yet.
He's only behind James Harden and another guy in this game.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. I'm assuming, what is it, Lonzo?
No, Brandon Ingram is at 1.3. He is my number 2 overall guy. Yeah, there's a lot to like from Memphis. There's a lot to like from the Pels. We have to wait a little bit on some of their health. They're a little wonky right now. But if I pull up the injury report, we've got Favors questionable, Holiday questionable, Okafor questionable, Redick probable, Kenrich Williams out. I have basically all of those dudes in for right now.
You have Favors in?
I have Favors in. I don't have all of those guys. I don't have Drew in. He's been out for so long, so hasn't been all that appealing to have. We won't be talking about it, but I believe AD is available today, but that'll be for later.
He is available, yeah.
Pelicans made me think of it. But yeah, so I'm leaving Drew out, and if that's the case, love Brandon Ingram, and as I've mentioned now, he's my second highest ranked guy on SuperDraft. Love Lonzo Ball, 6,700 on FanDuel, only 5% ownership. I am certainly in there. And then Derek Favors is 5,900, been playing really well since he's been back. That's
right. I like Lonzo Ball a lot as well. I've been rostering the shit out of him recently. Yeah. Even on DraftKings, $7,000 to me is still more than appealing. Like, agreed. I'm sorry, if Drew is out.
Yeah. If Drew out, yeah. I have Lonzo 12th overall on DK.
There you go. If Drew is out, you're getting Lonzo at monster minutes. Like sometimes that's all that matters. Like he's the type of guy that can give you triple double numbers. Give him the opportunity, give him the minutes, and it'll be there. 2 teams that play at an elevated top 5 pace in the league. 2 teams that defensively have been lacking, to say the least. I mean, you could pretty much go anywhere in this game. I'm waiting on injuries, but like Brandon Ingram, who has been dominant. I say it a lot. Maybe he's one of the highest floor players in the league, it feels like.
Yeah.
Very seldom that you get an awful game from Ingram. Lonzo Ball everywhere. I like Lonzo. I don't know. What about Favors if he plays? Can you get to Favors if he's active?
On FanDuel, absolutely. 5,900 he is a
DraftKings is
bargain.
a bit tough for me.
FanDuel, it's a bargain. Very easy to get to Favors there. On DraftKings, what's the price? 60.
66.
66 I could do without. Don't need him. Probably won't have him at all.
Okay.
I need to give one quick plug. We've got 15 minutes before lock. If you head to awesemo_com Twitter handle, we're doing a monthly giveaway. You could win an NBA monthly pass if you guess the player that scores the most fantasy points on the early slate. But go check out our pinned tweet at awesemo_com. You just have to retweet, like, and reply. You got to be following this account and the Awesemo NBA account, but you have your chance to win a free month. Want to plug that in. It locks in 15 minutes, just like the slate, so be ready. Rank your Pelicans. Let's assume Jrue Holiday is out.
I think the price on Lonzo is still too good, so I'm going Lonzo first. Ingram 2, and then Favors on FanDuel. And then it's just kind of a mishmash of guys that that some of them probably fall into decent games here because of this total.
On DK, I'm going Josh Hart, assuming Jrue Holiday is out. Not a lot of value out there right now. Lonzo, then Brandon Ingram. But Brandon Ingram is my man today on Super Draft.
Like it.
2 to go. Miami Heat, Sacramento Kings. Heat 6-point favorites at home against Sacktown. Not a lot of ownership here coming into Miami. Butler at 12% on FanDuel, 13 on DK. Nobody else in double digits. I think Bam Adebayo is probably getting overlooked a little bit at 8,700 on FanDuel, but I don't want to go too crazy. And then, I don't know, like $4,600 Goran Dragic. I have very low interest in everything from Miami. I would say Bam Adebayo for $30 on Yahoo is the best price I see.
I mean, we just went from a game that has a 230 total with good players everywhere to this one. It's not appealing. Now, a couple of things to consider. 220 total. Heat are 6.5-point favorites. If guys are priced decent enough, like we talked about with Graham, I don't really care what the total is. But Butler's price is come up a bit. I don't see myself getting to buckets here. Bam Adebayo is another one. He's still getting minutes, and you're going to generally get good production from him. But I still am having a tough time prioritizing Adebayo. Pretty much all of Miami, I feel the same way. Let's see if the field is with us or against us here.
No, it's Butler at 13% for DK, and the next closest guy is 3.
Yep, that's Bam. Yeah. So Butler 13. I still don't know if I get to even that much Butler. The Kings are not the same team in terms of pace as we've seen in seasons past, right? Like they are a slow-paced team. I think over the last 30 days, they've been playing a little bit up in pace, but that's still only like 14th or 15th in the league. Defensively, they're not very good, but I still just don't love it. You've got 8 other games, 17 other teams to choose from. This game, the most popular option is on the other side, and that's Marvin Bagley, who has now played 30-plus minutes in back-to-back games.
Marvin Bagley, 5,100 on FanDuel, 40% owned, 5,400 on DraftKings, 32% owned. Buddy Hield getting a little bit of love on FanDuel as well at 21. Is Bagley over-owned at 5,400?
That's because the matchup kind of sucks, right?
Yeah.
But I've had a difficult time with this one. At 5,100, no, I don't. Maybe he is. No, you know what? You got Garland as like your 5th highest projected player in the slate right now. If Garland's going to be that popular, then I don't think it's if Marcus Morris is going to be that popular, I don't think it's all that crazy. Marvin Bagley is still a quality per minute guy, at least in the brief opportunity we've seen him this year. But we know from last year he's been pretty solid. I would still say that at that price, that pretty minimal risk.
I agree.
Unless he hurts his damn foot again.
How often do you think Marvin Bagley outscores Mitchell Robinson? I know that's a ridiculous question, but
at 30 minutes, at their current projected minutes, which would be like 30 and 24, 23.
Yeah.
I don't know, 75% of the time.
Yeah. I'm probably a little low on the estimate, but I think you're pretty, I would call you spot on there. Marvin Bagley, 32% owned, Mitchell Robinson, 3.5. So might be worth a look in a large field contest if you get Bagley. You need to make one pivot if you're feeling a little chalky. But ultimately, he looks good to go right now with Rashawn Holmes out. I'd happily get to Hield. Buddy Hield, got it. Happily get to Hield. Happily get to Bjelica. These are on FanDuel. And I would happily get to De'Aaron Fox. Fox not getting any love at 8,400. I think that's probably a little low. On DraftKings, though, next closest guy to Bagley is Hield at 8%, and that feels about right. There's not a lot to like on the DraftKings side for this entire game.
No. There's really not. I mean, it's Bagley, and then once you get past Bagley, I'm not really sure. De'Aaron Fox, to me, the price point is pretty egregious on DraftKings. I know people will look at the recent numbers and say, no, it's totally a fine price point. I guess I don't see it. I don't see myself getting to De'Aaron Fox there. Pretty much the rest of this team doesn't stand out. Buddy Hield, he's not very expensive, but I actually think that's appropriate pricing. I don't think he's underpriced.
He's underpriced on FanDuel.
On FanDuel, yeah. Sorry, I'm talking about DraftKings.
Yeah.
And then Bjelica, you look at last game, Dwayne Dedmon was the one that got the backup 5 minutes. I think Bjelica played like 3 or 4 minutes at center. I would still expect him to get a decent amount of run, but look at the price tag on DraftKings. He's 6,800.
A big number. I have no interest there. I like him a lot more when he's 54.
It seems that Sacramento outside of Bagley is not getting ownership at all anyway.
Not at all. Why is anyone talking about Marvin Bagley? He is not on the injury report. That's freaking out right now. Marvin Bagley not on the injury report. For him to not play, it would be incredibly surprising. If you're worried about Marvin Bagley sitting, DFS might not be for you.
They're worried because on Saturday, he had the left foot evaluated again.
It's 1:30 on Monday. We already have the injury report, and he's not on it. Feel pretty comfortable there.
Yep.
Milwaukee Bucks, Chicago Bulls, final game. Bucks 14-point favorites at home. Yuck. Bagley's questionable everywhere. He's the only place that should matter is the place where he's not listed at all. So, yeah.
What?
He's questionable nowhere. Whether or not he's questionable everywhere else is useless information because he's not questionable in the only place that it matters.
Yeah, no, he's playing.
Yep. As of right now, you have no reason to suspect that he is anything other than 100% likely to play today.
Yep. And if something changes, then something changes, and it can be discussed, and we'll discuss it at 4 p.m. But as of now, the only place that I saw him on an injury report was earlier, and he was probable, not questionable, probable. So that just gives you more reason to believe that he's playing. And like you said, he's not on the injury. Didn't you just say when we were talking OKC, you looked at the injury report and he wasn't on it?
Certainly did. Trevor Ariza is listed because of the trade. B. Jelly is probable. Wenyen Gabriel listed because of the trade. Can't play. Holmes is out. Caleb Swanigan out. Also part of the trade. Go.
By the way, 15-point favorites now.
By the way, 1,770 people in here. 379 likes. Let's bring that ratio up. Hit that like button, guys. Hit that like button.
Thanks for hanging out, man. That's pretty awesome for a Monday afternoon.
I love it. What do we do with Yanis? 11-7 on FanDuel, 11-2 on DK.
I just don't think I can get there.
Yeah, he's 40% owned on FanDuel right now. How does that feel?
I don't know. Maybe you can talk some sense into me, because as $200 more expensive than Harden. Also keep in mind, Harden is in a game where, so let me put it to you this way. The Rockets have an implied total that is 1 point lower than the Bucks, right?
Yes.
They're 7.5 point favorites, but that's a lot different than 15. And even if they were to win in blowout fashion, Harden's getting at least like 34 minutes, unless it's ridiculous. I mean, Yanis right now, and yeah, we don't like predicting blowouts, but you're just kind of looking at the Bucks on the season alone. Almost all their wins are coming by double-digit points, and Giannis has not been getting significant run. 25 minutes, 35, 21, 28, 28, 32, and then a couple of these were close, 29, 27. Like, how do you project them for more than 28? What, I guess you give him 30, but even so, how many minutes are you giving him?
I gave him 31 just to see if I would get him to start.
Right.
And I still am not interested.
Right. Yeah. I'm never, like I said, never going to project him for 27 or 28, even when the game is expected to be a blowout. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if he played 26, 27, 28 minutes again, because that's what's been happening.
No, not at all. I'm very, very indifferent to everything here. Chris Middleton at 11% on DK. Brook Lopez at 13 on DK. I don't need either of those guys. Like $5,600 Eric Bledsoe on FanDuel stands out to me. He's at 4% ownership, so that's kind of like an easy large field GPP pivot. After that, it's just they're going to play like 12 dudes. Everybody's going to play like 2 full rotations. It's not worth it to dig into Milwaukee anymore.
If you're getting 32 minutes from Giannis, you're going to wish you had him.
Really?
But
on DraftKings? If you told me that I was getting 32 minutes from Giannis right now, I would still prefer James Harden.
Would you?
Yeah.
32 minutes from Giannis is like 170 DraftKings points.
It might just be. It might just be.
But I mean, think about this. He's averaging 30 minutes per game on the entire season.
That's mind-boggling, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Mind-boggling.
So 1.9 DK points per minute. Across 32 minutes, that's a little more than 62 fantasy points, 62 DraftKings points. So, there is that. Harden on the season is averaging 1.67 fantasy points per minute. But when you give him the projected 38 minutes, that's 63 fantasy points. So those additional minutes, and obviously I'm just taking per minutes, times it by the minutes played or projected. And most nights in spots like this, Harden getting those 38 minutes is more valuable. I don't know if you'd say marginally more valuable, but definitely a lot more valuable if Giannis plays 27 instead of 32, which seems to be pretty close to his minutes ceiling.
Yeah, I don't have these guys close at all. I have Harden significantly ahead of Giannis. I understand why he's getting more ownership on FanDuel just because of the way the positions work and having to have 2 small forwards. But I still prefer Harden there. I just don't want to get to anything from Milwaukee. On the Bulls side, though, $5,100 Lauri Markkanen sounds good to me. $6K on DraftKings. $4,700 Chris Dunn on FanDuel seems okay. Unowned. These guys are going unowned. Then Zach LaVine, $8,700 on FanDuel. $8,700 on DraftKings. It's fine, I guess. But the pace up spot is great for Chicago. There's no telling who closes this game.
Yeah, the pace up spot is the only thing that's good for them here, though. Everything else is just brutal.
Yep.
I've said a lot. Milwaukee, one minor weakness is they do allow a lot of 3-point attempts. They allow a pretty high rate of 3-point field goals. So I guess someone like Markkanen is fine in that respect, but he has just been bad, man.
Yeah,
like he's been super underwhelming. Give him like 30 minutes here, and I guess he's okay. But I really don't have a lot of interest in anything from the Chicago Bulls today.
Nor does the public. 5% owned someone is the highest the number they have on DK.
Like, I think I'd rather get to, if I had to pick somebody else in this game that I didn't love but I didn't hate, I'd go Brook Lopez over like anything from Chicago.
I agree. I truly agree.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean I love Brooke Lopez either.
No, that's just.
People asked about Dante DiVincenzo from Milwaukee.
Sure.
I think, yeah, fine, but 26, 28 minutes. I give him 26 is reasonable. He's not a high usage guy, but Al Horford's playing, so that takes some value away. Yeah. If you don't want to play that Brooklyn Nets value once we get these new ownership, then I think it's fine. But he's right around that 8% ownership is probably where he should be, right?
Yeah, it seems.
Oh, we got it. I'll let you close this out because we just got an ownership update with Dinwiddie or with Irving out, and Dinwiddie and Joe Harris are 1 and 2 in projected ownership right now.
I think that
Temple
seems
5.
That the Dinwiddie ownership for sure seems spot
LeVert
on.
is 6. Oh man,
that seems high. Is there anything that we should suspect for Caris LeVert to be getting like wildly larger minutes? I expect him to just continue to play 24 minutes with a slight usage bump.
I mean, he wasn't getting the minutes when Temple was out, right? So now Temple's back.
Yeah.
And Temple was playing like 33 to 35 minutes.
I'm for sure in on Dinwiddie. Joe Harris is 3,800. I don't think that there's a way to go wrong there. I'm not so sure I would want to get to a lot of Caris LeVert.
This feels like a minefield outside of Dinwiddie, doesn't it?
Let's not forget the Phillies still good.
That's what I mean. Their defense is still very good. Now, also, I'm 100% understanding of the fact that Harris is very cheap and Temple very cheap. So there's very minimal risk here.
Yeah, Harris at 3,800 is it doesn't matter. That's
Temple's
fine.
3,500.
Yeah, there you go. Those guys are just cheap. The LeVert one, 4,600. I think he's going a little overowned.
I think LeVert of those 4 would be my least preferred because I could at least get 32 minutes from Temple or Joe Harris here. LeVert hasn't done it this season, and I don't see it happening today. Not to mention, like you said, it's still not a good matchup. So give me the cheapest guys and just hope that they fall into some peripherals and knock down some threes.
I just don't have confidence in Caris LeVert's minutes. If you think that he's going to play more than 24 because of this situation, that is how you get there. Otherwise, he's capped. He's like early season DeJounte Murray.
Yep.
Perfect time now as we are getting out of here. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and thank you very much to our presenting sponsor, SuperDraft. Go to superdraft.io. Use the promo code AWESEMO to get yourself $20 in super cash on your first $100 deposit. They've got a big one today. $20K guaranteed, $4K to first. I'd highly recommend you guys check it out. Our super draft projections are free on the website today. If you go to awesemo.com, navigate yourself to the super draft projections, you will get them for free. Laffy and Adam will be back in 2 hours?
Yes, sir.
They'll be back in 2 hours for the deeper dive. We'll take a brief break after that. And then Chris Spags and I will be back at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, taking you up to 7:30 for the final lock of the day. I believe there's 5 games from 7:30 on.
That'll do it.
That's it.
Good
Guys,
stuff, man. We just pulled 2 hours on a 9-gamer, huh?
Like it was nothing. Easy peasy. I'm going to go get some lunch. Hungry. And then I'm going to start getting ready for these 5 o'clock games. I got to get prepped. I got to be ready to go while you are going to put the deeper dive on. I won't be producing. I'll just be listening. And then I got to get my lineups ready.
Yeah, man. Adam Scher, myself, 4 p.m. Eastern. Josh Engelman, Chris Spags, 6:30, bringing you up to that 7:30 lock. We got plenty on this wonderful Martin Luther King Day Monday. Good luck today. We'll see you back here in just a couple hours.
Aye.